So we have with us Damian Paletta and Sara Murray of the Wall Street Journal, who cover the politics of taxes in Washington. So, Damian, let me start with you. So, why is this so contentious between Democrats and Republicans, this business of taxing the rich?
These are real philosophical issues for them. The Democrats feel like if they're going to reduce the deficit, some of it has to come from tax increases, presumably on the wealthy, and the Republicans say, hey, it's our spending that's gotten us in this hole, we need to attack spending. So that's really the crux of this debate.
Mm-hmm. And Sara, you covered the campaign. This was like one of the running themes of the campaign. Did the debate and the outcome of the elections make any difference, do you think?
Absolutely. I feel like President Obama thinks he now has a mandate to raise taxes on the rich. He campaigned on it while he won, and it wasn't a particularly close victory, so now he feels like he can go out and do that.
But I thought that the Republicans had kind of thrown in the towel on taxes, and the question was, do you get this by raising tax rates, the additional tax on every dollar of income, or do you get it by somehow doing away with deductions or credits? Why does that matter so much to these guys?
Well, the big debate is how do you make sure that the tax increases are going to be real? You know, if you take away tax breaks and tax deductions, will, you know, smart tax accountants just find a new way to divert income and assets to avoid taxation? The Democrats feel like if they raise the rates, that'll be the best way to ensure that the taxes are going to actually come into the Treasury.
And what about the politics of this? Do you think that tax rates are more symbolic or something?
Yeah, I think absolutely. To Republicans, it's one thing to go home and say, you know, well, we gave you revenue. It's another thing to go home and say, okay, I signed on to a deal that very clearly raises taxes by raising the rate. I think they also just feel like, you know, the goalpost keeps moving. Some Republicans have compared themselves to Charlie Brown, just going to kick the football and they keep missing it. So, you know, they said they would give revenue and now the president's asking for rates and they feel like they keep trying to compromise and the president keeps moving the goal.
So, Damian, do you sense that the debate is driven by real differences about how the economy works, or is it more politics in the sense of scoring points with the voters?
I think it's both. I think the Democrats feel like they won this election and they need to use that mandate or that leverage to, you know, exact some pain on the Republicans. But there's also a real philosophical debate between both sides. The Republicans feel like if you raise taxes too much, you're going to hurt the economy and hurt, you know, the recovery. And Democrats feel like these taxes have to be part of any reduction in the deficit, or else we're really not going to get anywhere.
Right, right. And I guess a lot of the Republicans argue that if you raise tax rates, that somehow discourages people from working and investing in a way that other tax increases don't.
That's right, and what's sort of so confusing about this whole argument, like you said, is that tax rates can be high, like we see on the corporate side, but because of all the tax breaks and deductions, people aren't paying anywhere near what the top rate is.
What about the public, Sara? What do we know from the polls about what the public thinks about all this?
Well, you know, the public is pretty okay with taxing the rich. You know, it turns out if you phrase it as a question of do you think that the rich should pay more to help you deal with the budget deficit, then most people say yes. The issue
That's
is
because most people aren't rich, right?
Well, right, most people aren't rich, and so they're like, sure, why don't we tax someone else and we can get that money from somewhere else. I mean, the problem is that you just can't get from A to Z only by taxing the rich. So that's great, but it's only going to give you a part of the money you need.